All right, let's see what this is. Sean Fu, China's new AI just destroyed China's DeepSeek. U.S. can't keep up. Demands total ban. I don't know. Let's see what this is.
Race is just getting hilarious. The biggest disruptor and competitor to China is China itself. It's
He sounds like he's Singaporean or Malaysian. I'm guessing Singaporean.
something we have been saying for a long time. Competition within Chinese companies is just so fierce, it won't be long before DeepSeek gets disrupted. And the latest breakthrough isn't from Silicon Valley, but
Yep.
from Beijing. The second Sputnik
I mean, definitely. I just feel tech innovation has moved off to China. The U.S. just wanted to play games and wanted to pump and dump, and no one wanted to do the hard work. No one wanted to listen to honest facts and truths, and no one was willing to face them. And this cult of positivity, in addition to other things, but the cult of positivity just whoosh, led to just this brain drain, this brain rot in the U.S.
moment is from China, and it's truly a game changer here.
Hi, I'm Pete from Manus AI. For the past year, we've been quietly building what we
Hi,
believe
Pete.
is the next evolution in AI. And today, we're launching an early preview of Manus, the
Okay.
first general AI agent.
He doesn't
This
sound
isn't
Chinese.
just another chatbot or workflow. It's a truly autonomous agent that bridges
Okay.
the gap between conception and execution. Where other
Okay.
AI stops at generating ideas, Manus delivers results.
Okay.
We see it as the next paradigm of human-machine collaboration, and potentially
Okay.
a glimpse into AGI.
DeepSeek is basically a new and improved and cheaper model than ChatGPT, but Menace AI is an artificial intelligence agent that essentially doubles up as your employee. You just need to define the task, what you want, and the end goal that you want. Just like a human, it will reason the next steps ahead and really handle them by itself. It's
Okay.
frightening and really shows us the level of progress
Is it
Chinese
frightening?
companies are
What
making
results do you
within
have?
months.
In this example, we have Manus conduct some research. It
Okay.
needs to filter New York properties based on multiple criteria.
I don't get it. He has a strong American accent. Like, how is this Chinese? What's going on?
For complex tasks, Manus first breaks them down and creates a to-do list. Manus begins by searching and carefully reading articles about the safest neighborhoods. Then Manus researches middle schools in New York.
Okay.
Next, Manus writes a Python program to calculate my budget. Based on my budget, Manus filters listings on real estate websites.
Okay.
Finally, combining all the information gathered, Manus writes a detailed report and compiles all the resources.
Cool.
Now, in today's economy, almost every industry will benefit from this. AI is great, but most people, like me, we just don't know the right questions to ask, and there's no need for coding as well. So just imagine asking a general question and getting the answer. It's mind-blowing and can really destroy a bunch of redundant work. It truly increases productivity, and at the very least, it's much more effective than Doge. And as we can all expect, the mainstream media, they're losing their minds. The Chinese shock is just too much for them to handle again. The AI agent for the rest of us is made in China. Now, this breakthrough really comes from the consumer front. It's an easy-to-use solution that a non-tech nerd like myself can use.
Cool, man. How many days till ban? Or I think now the game now is, how many days till ban threat, and then how many days after that before Trump tries to get them to sell out. Like, oh, if you want access to American market, you need to sell this for $2.50.
I asked Menace to build me a personal website, and within roughly 30 minutes, it fully deployed a temporary URL with a simple design and everything I had asked for. Without the agent, I would have to either hire a coder, pay a software service, or spend days building the site myself. And that's how crazy Menace is. The real power lies in fully automating complex tasks at a fraction of the cost without
Can you show us your
hiring
website,
anyone
man?
new.
That's a lot of words. Show us
We've
what you
heard
did.
1,000 times that China has a population crunch, poor
Right.
demographics that's working against their economy. While that might be happening and true, it
What's going on here in the background? Is that like Napoleon? Asian Napoleon? Looks like an Asian Napoleon, Spanish bullfighter on a horse. I don't really get it. It's like a bullfighter on a horse. And Black Mickey Mouse.
It doesn't mean Chinese productivity will collapse. Inventions like Menace AI shows us how China is bridging the gap to speed past the US. Now the US is still trying to build something perfect. They're hell-bent on developing the biggest and baddest AI to win a Nobel Prize. They want to reach artificial general intelligence, and that's when AI can surpass human intelligence. But China
Well, my opinion is they're saying all these big things because it's just it's good for fundraising. I mean, why don't you talk to some of the people who are actually doing the coding? You might get different answers, and talk to some of the people who actually are designing the ASICs. And yeah, there's a lot of big bold claims in the US, but
is making practical solutions to solve real-world problems. China is concentrating hard in developing AI solutions like DeepSeek and Menace AI. DeepSeek is generative AI, while Menace is your AI robo-agent. Now that they have built these solutions, integrators in Chinese companies can piggyback on those to develop their very own products. For example, BYD's self-driving software, God's Eye, is powered by DeepSeek's AI tech. But the US is still stuck trying to build the best semiconductors and hyperscaling data centers. They're still blowing hundreds of billions trying to create Skynet before really deploying them into real-life solutions. There's also another problem here. US AI companies like OpenAI are actually closed source. The models are all proprietary, which might be great today, but as we have seen, it hurts the overall ecosystem. China's model of open source allows for quick innovation and rapid progress within their own ecosystem. And that's why we suddenly had Menace AI come out of nowhere.
well, how are you going to have a monopoly unless you can have closed source? I mean, the US does operate on a system of monopolies. I mean, neoliberalism is kind of a farce.
As Joe Tsai of Alibaba puts it, the entire AI conversation, especially in the US, has to change. It's not just about raw power, but how useful your model really is.
Dude, bro, the entire conversation about science and tech in general in the US has to change. Not just AI. I mean, AI is just a teeny tiny bit of the problem.
This AI race, who's better, whose AI is better? The answer yesterday is going to be different from the answer tomorrow. You have to start to ask yourself, what is the goal of developing AI? Is this to have the smartest child so that they can win every single Nobel Prize? Or is it something different? Like, there's a lot of problems in the world that need to be solved. There's a lot of issues that we need to use AI to apply AI so that it can be useful and productive and make an economic impact. I just think that with open source, with smaller models, you can open it up and a lot of developer and entrepreneurs and smaller companies can contribute toward the development of AI. And I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing for innovation.
And this is what the real conversation has to revolve around.
I don't know, maybe not. I mean, there is something to be said about keeping a closed source so you can protect your income stream, so that you have the peace of mind to have your labor force just stay put and not always running around, and to have the breathing room to build something truly, paradigm shifting or groundbreaking. So, I mean, if you were to create an AI that was able to create some real breakthroughs in science or physics, then everything else will kind of follow through from that. So I think both models are good. It's just the US model is not as, I think, big and groundbreaking as some of the marketing would lead you to believe. Because essentially, the US is saying we're doing something big and, oh, wow, look at us. And China's like, no, we're making smaller models, but those smaller, cheaper models are outperforming the US models. So it's not like the US models are by far outperforming the Chinese ones, and it's a different paradigm or a different regime we're looking at. It's just the US strategy does not seem to be working. If it is a strategy, I don't know what it is.
Can we cut down fuel usage in commercial flights by 20%? How about reducing medical errors by 50%? And maybe cut carbon emissions by 30%? And all these are concrete outcomes that can be measured. Here's the problem US companies are facing, especially the ones who are pouring in big sums of money into AI. Is that really the route to go down? Because you are now in a capex war with China, and it's going to be a race to the bottom. US technology firms are expected to ramp up AI spending sprees after the DeepSeek threat. Combined, they are expected to invest more than $500 billion in the next 10 years. This is a 44% increase from the year before, and will keep.
Well, bro, I mean, it's a Hail Mary. All they have left on the table is what? AI, quantum, and 5G. I mean, of course, they're going to try or say that they're going to throw money into this, because where else are they going to put money into it? Like, what? Research labs? New universities? Like, are you kidding? Like, you think Americans want to do the hard work of actually doing research? Or do you think they just all want to be the quarterback? Just, oh, yeah, grab the glory, take the money. All right, winner takes it all.
Rising until 2032. Once again, it will be spent on data centers and computing resources. The tax sanctions on China, ironically, have become their saving grace. Thanks to the hardware restrictions, China has been investing more into software solutions, which is actually the smarter choice. Software can be scaled indefinitely. The sky is truly the limit here, and you can improve on things exponentially. Like what DeepSeek has proven, you also don't need the latest chips from NVIDIA.
The sky's the limit, not quite. I mean, software is easier to do than hardware. It's,
To brute force your way through. Software can provide more elegant solutions. And let's not forget about.
Look, the only reason this happened is what I've been saying for 10 years is that software engineers in the US have been spoiled, and they've not been very efficient. So despite all of the Google big old crap, if you just look at the apps and the software, it's very buggy, it's very inefficient, and it saturates your smartphone, or it used to saturate your smartphone super quickly. And that's essentially because it would pay a lot of money just to build stuff, because the rest of the infrastructure wasn't existing over here. I mean, there are many reasons, but what China has done, and the reason why they've done it, is essentially because, it's not smash and grab. It's actually built on a very deep and rich research infrastructure in China. And so they're able to find all these inefficiencies and take pride in it and breathe through all the pain, because it's a growing economy. So it's like the Chinese ecosystem doesn't, hard take here, but it doesn't strike me as winner take all like it does in the US. It does, it is pretty cutthroat and whatnot, but it does sort of strike me that people in general feel that the government will take care of them, which is definitely not the case in the US. Over here, it's like, I need $10 million in the bank at least. If I don't have that, oh my God, I don't trust this government.
Moore's law as well. Chip improvements are becoming smaller and much more expensive. There will be a physical limit sooner or later. According to Goldman, AI hardware investments in the US will peak out at 2% of GDP before it declines to less than 0.5%. And once.
Firstly, I wouldn't take Goldman Sachs very seriously when it comes to predictions, but if you're going to throw this up here, AI hardware investment expected to rise 2% of GDP before you're claiming as computing costs fall. Like, based on what? I don't know. I mean, so much of this, like large finance firms, their research is usually wrong.
Once we cross the threshold, software will be the main arena of the AI wars. Its importance will double and make up the majority of investments by 2032. It won't be who makes the meanest.
No, essentially, I mean, it's going to get cutthroat in software. So software engineers in the US get paid a lot because, they're kind of overpaid. And things have gotten harder for hardware engineers and everyone else in the US because of stiffer competition from China and from, Chinese hires. And the only thing that was left was software, but it seems like China has opened the floodgates for software as well, because I think they feel comfortable that they've got everything that they need to. They feel very confident in their ability to move forward. And software was the sort of like, software was what America had a false sense of, what gave America this false sense of security, that China it does like the menial labor, it does the hardware, the easy, blah blah blah, they do all that hard stuff, whatever. But we're the really creative, we're the truly smart people, because we can do the software that they can't. And as long as it fed into China's strategy, they just, who cares? Like, it's just words. But at this stage, I think it's just like, they're like, yeah, just do software as well, whatever.
And the leanest chip. It will be who makes the most effective and helpful AI solution for XYZ industry. By pouring money to developing better software and AI solutions, China is actually leapfrogging ahead. They are tackling the problems of tomorrow today. They are winning the tech race where it truly matters.
Oh my god, are you sure you don't want to work for McKinsey? All these buzzwords. Oh my god, whoa.
At the end of the day, AI is about generating revenue to stay sustainable. Throwing a lot into capex spending is crazy if you can't monetize your solutions. China's very realistic in this aspect because they had to be. They don't have the luxury of global investment money. They had to invent DeepSeek using only $6 million, shoestrings, and bubblegum, which means the need to generate money.
Oh my god, just give me a break, dude. It's just software. They have all of these resources available from the government. Things are cheaper in China. Hardware is cheaper in China. You're delusional, bro. It's just as easy to do software in China as it is in the US. So the hard part is the hardware. And the reason why they used so little is because the government made the system so that it was cheap for them to have access to their hardware and to muck around. I mean, the way China treats its top performers in academics is very different from the way the US does it. I mean, let's just say that for someone like myself and my friends who worked very hard in school and in grad school to try to be top performers, to try to excel, in Western Europe and in America, it was very discouraging. And so the motivation or the incentives to continue to push hard and to be an excellent performer just kept ebbing away. And when we tried to raise these issues, essentially we were just shat upon. That's just the bottom line. There's no other way to put it. By the powers that be, the people with the money, as Bernie Sanders would say, the 1%, and their apologizers, right? Whereas in China, I saw these videos in which, these kids, I mean, good for them, just good for China and good for them. If they graduated top of their class from, top university, they were handpicked and given resources and allowed to be creative and allowed to make stuff. And that was a few years ago, and it's been going on. So they've been nurturing their top talent in this way. Whereas in the US, it's... If you try to innovate in the US, if you try to really do something from left field or something, it's almost like you're hamstringed and you're blacklisted. And Silicon Valley is a very small network and a very small community. And it's just, yeah. In China, as long as you don't speak up against the government or badmouth the government, there's a lot you can do. You can just focus on your work and focus on technology. US doesn't feel that way.
Money is really urgent here. China is focusing on AI integration driven by market needs. Their AI can be integrated rapidly across industries and is all about enhancing productivity. The US, however, is very different. They are trying to build the matrix and they're engineering the perfect Skynet, but that means a much
No, I think he is Singaporean because he's sort of either he's willingly, pretending and sort of painting the US a good picture, or he's like really drank too much Kool-Aid. But yeah, there's what the US says and what it can actually do. So they're saying they want to do all this stuff, but I mean,
longer road to really monetize them. US firms today aren't using AI not because it's too lousy, but because it's simply not user-friendly enough. They need proper solutions. The big
lack of experience and easy-to-use applications are main barriers to adoption. Yeah, what are the use cases still? It's still pretty limited.
biggest hurdle is the lack of knowledge on AI capability.
I mean, wait, the Goldman Sachs actually made this portfolio, like made this graph. I mean, I don't know why these people get paid so much. This is such garbage. I mean, the US doesn't make any sense. Like, it just doesn't.
In other words, they don't know what AI solutions can accomplish.
Lack of required data, laws, and 1%, 8%. Like, what is this shit? Cited barriers in the next 6 months. Lack of knowledge on the capabilities. Like, why do you have to make this graph? This is so stupid.
The next biggest issue is AI not being mature enough. Generative AI just can't execute the task robustly and on its own. And this is where manners comes into play with their AI agent. China's AI is all about bridging the gap between the lack of knowledge and easy-to-use solutions. It's a big reason why many private users, they're all jumping ship to Chinese models. Manners
sure.
AI basically allows anyone, virtually anyone, with zero knowledge to use artificial intelligence effectively. It orchestrates everything for you. And that's why it's just sad when you have OpenAI calling for the US government to ban models like DeepSeek coming out of.
Look, I mean, Apple had Huawei banned, and they just, Facebook had TikTok banned. So there's just a trend, and it's been going on for a long while now, where China is producing better products at cutthroat prices. So, and it was only a matter of time before it hit software. Like, again, software was the last thing that China wanted to challenge because strategically it was brilliant. It got the US to give up all of its hardware infrastructure, to not find redundant sources of hardware production. Again, because of greed, right? They fed right into the greed. They played this role of, we're not smart, or you're the really creative people. You do the software and the intelligent thinking, And then when the infrastructure was there, like bit by bit, one by one, they overtook in everything. So,
China. It is not just that particular AI model. Sam Altman wants to target everything. Once again, it's the good old state-subsidized and state-controlled excuse, which is basically an admission that we can't compete. It's not a good look at all.
It's
and
not
this
a
is
good
what
look.
happens when you pound.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's not a good look. Americans don't care. I mean, the only thing Americans care about is, do they have a job? What are the prices of eggs? And is Sam's stupid model helpful or not? And the answer to those are, no, we don't have a job. Prices of eggs are super expensive, and Sam's model is kind of stupid right now.
Tens of billions and just got disrupted. But because you have made a lot of promises to your investors, you simply can't allow the competition to stay. Is it really about protecting data or simply driving out the competition?
I think the best part of this is the fact that Sam Altman was supposed to be doing open source. He made it a closed source company. He stole everybody's data. He got caught red-handed. He's being sued by the New York Times for all that. And now the Chinese have come and open sourced all the stuff he stole, and he's got a real competitor on the original mission of what OpenAI was supposed to do. So I have zero sympathy for him or the team over there. I'm glad that this is all going open source. It should have been open source, and it's better for humanity. And the fact that the Chinese did it to Sam Altman is comeuppance for him stealing everybody else's content.
Well, I don't know if it's better for humanity or what. I mean, if you need a business model, it needs to be sustainable. So if all the people open sourcing it are starving to death, how is that helping anyone? So,
That's my feeling.
Okay, there you have it.
But I don't have strong opinions on it.
But it's very likely Chinese AI will get banned in the United States. It's already being disallowed in many government agencies across the
sure it has, but unlike TikTok, this is an instance where the US would essentially then start to slide into a support role or secondary role compared to East Asia then. Because where the Chinese models then are not banned, including China, they're going to get a better quality product that's increasingly exponentially better and better. And Americans, kind of like healthcare and public transport and everything, are just going to be made unaware because of the Great American Wall, the Great American Political Wall, the Red-Blue Wall, where Americans are just kept in the dark about how backwards things kind of are.
the country. There's also a bill being floated to decouple US AI from China. Now the ban revolves around stopping Chinese innovation. And here's the critical part: prohibit the import from or export to China of AI technology. So the US is going to
Doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter anymore.
shut themselves off from any breakthroughs in China and
I mean, it's not even too little too late. It's just a waste of time. What's the point? You know, what's the point of running into the field when the birds already plucked it clean?
live in their own echo chamber. This is crazy, and it's only going to backfire down the road. If China has a better AI solution, isn't it smarter to adapt them to really drive true outcomes for your own customers? Because if you don't, you'll be throwing money into a black hole while Beijing slowly iterates away. And here's the risk in one chart. Before the DeepSeek or Menace AI surprise, US companies were solely focused on capital expenditures. Companies like Microsoft, Google, Meta, and Amazon, they were all buying high-end GPUs and chips, but very little money was spent on inference, unlike China. The US just isn't focused on the deployment of AI to solve real-world problems. Take Microsoft for example, $40 billion spent on capex, but only $3 billion on inference. They aren't
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to say it, but it does sometimes feel that, like, Steve Jobs was the last great founder CEO that actually had a sense of what an economy was and what a society is. And I mean, definitely Bill Gates as well, but you know, he also left to do his philanthropy, and now it's just this weird sense of I don't know what these companies stand for, other than maximizing shareholder value at all costs. I mean, I was very impressed when Amazon took a stand, not Amazon, but Apple took a stand for privacy, which is very unusual. And, you know, who knows where that really stands with respect to the government, but at least they took the stand on privacy, and that makes it a little easier to maintain your accounts.
running the AI for their end-use customers, and they are not integrating them enough to their solutions. Now, will this change? We really don't know. But if the ban goes through, the US will be stuck in a time capsule fighting the last war. And if China continues to create more practical breakthroughs after breakthroughs, their AI will start powering the non-Western world. And in the funny part, that allows China to earn even more revenues than US companies.
Definitely.
That will allow them to sustainably fund their R&D
For
and
sure.
develop cutting-edge.
I mean, if you're Indonesia, Malaysia, if you're India, like why in the world would you want to use this bloated American garbage when you can get super cheap stuff, possibly even free from China, so you can advance your own like innovation and better results at a cheaper price.
AI. So the Menace solution is an important milestone for China and the world. And if the US goes full protectionist, it just won't end well. But let me know what you think. Will the US start to ban Chinese AI models? And is China's strategy better than the US?
Well, the US doesn't have a strategy, so China appears to have a strategy. So, I mean, that's my take. Will the US try to ban it? Of course, they'll try to ban it. 100% they'll try to ban it. It won't make any effect. It won't slow China down. And so, in some ways, it'll be harmful because essentially America then will be operating in the dark. But yeah, I mean, the US needs to make some massive changes, massive, like epic changes, like trillions of dollars of research infrastructure spending, like literally trillions of dollars. That's kind of what's required.